going to be their debut here on the World Championship stage.
On the main stage, right? Because they played their first game off stage.
They did.
So we'll see how they do. There are pros and cons for both of these teams for this matchup. Talon are warm. They've already played their game, so I think they're pretty comfortable where they are. They're ready to go. Komai are going to start the matches a bit cold because they played their games much earlier today, so they've more or less just been spectating, and obviously they watched Talon's game. So I think they have an idea as to how this team is currently playing. So both teams, they're currently in their own zones, and it's a question of who gets the advantage in this first game because, again, the situation for Komai, they cannot afford to lose a single match right now. They have to win 2 games back-to-back.
Yes, they do have to try and win those 2 games back-to-back, but I guess watching that previously, they decided to ban away this Rapidash. Hooper also locked on out. Talon have decided to ban away this Ho-Oh and this Latios, but first pick Charizard. What do you think about Charizard so far that we've seen here today?
Okay, so this is probably a respect pick on the side of Komai. Firstly, Charizard's fantastic because you can isolate certain Pokemon and just chase them down with your Unite, right? I kind of feel like they picked this up to prevent Talon from comfortably picking up that Alolan Raichu. Because we just saw them play 2 rounds of Alolan Raichu. They looked very confident on it, so maybe they thought if we pick the Charizard, it forces Dylan to play a different attacker. And so far, it's going to be a different choice. It's going to be Miraidon this time for Dylan. And Komai, knowing this and seeing the lineup on the side of Talon are kind of fat. They got plenty of thickness on that front line. It's going to be quite difficult to dive into the back to even reach a Miraidon. But we've got one of the best divers in the game.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want dive, the master of illusion right there, Zoroark, whether they're going to be able to dive towards that Miraidon though, it depends on, well, what this last pick is. And, well, we're going to actually have 2 attackers on the side of Talon this time around. Alolan Raichu locked in once again.
I wonder, okay, so the question I have is, are we going to see a swap here? Is Dylan going to get that Alolan Raichu, or are they going to sort of keep it on sync 1 and have Dylan on the Miraidon? Because this does also determine their lanes. Because Dylan wants to be in the lane with whatever Pokemon he has. And so far, I think they're locking in with that Miraidon lane. So this Alolan Raichu, it's going to play a really big role for the team because you need to, essentially, especially up against Komai, you do not want to fall victim to that Zoro this early on because that Pokemon can snowball in this matchup.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's going to have to be a matter of shutting it down, not letting it get online or scale up by getting those KOs, being able to secure those wild Pokemon. But one thing I can say is for certain, Danilee, this match is going to be electrifying.
Oh, absolutely. And Zoro is one of them. This is not a Pokemon that can really afford to play reactively. You need to be proactive to really play this Pokemon.
I guess that's where it really shines, being able to utilize not only its illusion to go and trick your opponents, but also when to utilize that Unite move. But there we go, folks. We are heading on into our first game of Komai Esports, who are on the purple side, Talon on the orange. Are you ready, Danilee?
Oh, I am ready. I don't know if the audience is ready, though, because this is going to be such an intense matchup. We do have a quick score there by the Eevee, who is trying to get into that Umbreon stage as quick as possible. I kind of think this Umbreon will play a key role into potentially shutting down that Zoro, right? Because with Zoro, you want that hard lockdown.
Yeah, the mean look is definitely mean when going on into that Zoroark, not able to go and make those dives, but Toast has already reached that level 5 and trying to shut down RBX, but because of that dunking, they're invulnerable at that moment and don't end up getting any HP chipped away.
Yeah, and that's also a little bit of experience in the side of Talon too, because they got that knockout onto that Snorlax. So already not looking too great for Komai, but then again, it is still very early. Maybe up top they can redeem themselves, but they can't really if they're going to potentially lose the Zoro here, able to duck and dive and dodge, and will survive and get 2 knockouts in that top lane. This is what Komai need. They need to snowball, and 2 knockouts in the top lane is just how you do it.
Getting those knockouts up in the top lane obviously paid off for them, but Talon entering back with a push of their own down in that bottom path. They still have the points lead at 61 to 49, but it is still early days ahead. Surprising that Toast didn't actually end up retreating back to go and get their central area. Instead, we have Zante there trying to contest this invade happening from Talon.
Uh-oh, I think they might be surrounded here. They tried to go for a cheeky elimination, but this Eldegoss should be able to finish off the Alolan Raichu, and there we go. Raichu is down. Umbreon next one to follow, and Talon maybe being a little bit too aggressive with their movements, thinking they can be very cheeky with stealing that central area. We do have a battle happening down bottom. Zoro trying to go for that Miraidon, but maybe taking a little bit too much in that situation, having to back up and not getting knocked out himself. Got to be so careful around Dylan on that Miraidon. If you get clipped by 2 moves, that's lights out for a Zoro.
Oh yeah, the charge beam distance can actually reach quite far, and it shreds if that Miraidon is able to get those maneuvers in. Otherwise, we do have the next set of birds spawning in shortly. Those Electro Balls, they're
so
ready
smart.
to go and explode.
No, that is so smart if you think about it, because if you park the Electro Balls on top of your Miraidon, Zoro can't jump that.
No.
Because that's a knockout if I ever saw one. So very
the amount of times I have been gone into a bush and been knocked out by all the Electro Balls hiding on in there is surprising. And Zoroark's really squishy, but otherwise we do have 8 points remaining on this top tier 1 pad as the Zacian needs to back on out, but even then with the Fire Blast, they end up getting knocked on down.
Yeah, with the Zacian down, they're not really feeling too confident wanting to jump onto that tier 1 goal zone, so they're going to have to give it away. But it looks like the Alolan Raichu. I don't know where, when, how, or why, but the Zoro getting clipped there and was knocked out. So unfortunately for Komai, sensing that one of your major hard hitters on your team being knocked out there, they did have to back out a little bit. And unfortunately, they now gave some breathing room to Talon to reposition as these 2 teams get ready to fight for that Reggie Alecki in that top lane. Down bottom, though, Lance is going to secure that Reggie Rock, so the defense buff is going to be huge here for Talon.
Yeah, this is going to be huge advantage for Talon going on into this next fight, but I guess they're just going to back on up. Zoroark going in aggressively, but ends up failing as they end up getting eliminated. And now we have the eject button from Marv straight into Lance, and just taking Talon for a little bit of a trip, while the rest of the members of Komai are taking a quick breather and reset.
Oh boy, beautiful. Again, just beautiful execution from Talon. It seems like they are reading Komai really well in a lot of these fights, where Komai think it's time to go in, but Talon, they've just stacked all of their supports perfectly to be there whenever someone gets collapsed upon. So unfortunately for Komai, they can't really go for this reckless run into Talon, try to pick up somebody and go for that insta-KO anymore. I think you need to be a little bit more calculative with those entry points and maybe try and go for that backstab, go for a pick-off, go for the wraparound. You kind of have to pull off a play where Talon isn't going to be expecting you. So we're going to be seeing this Reggie Alecki pulled down to half health. No full commit, but Snorlax starting to fight Hells.
Yeah, they're going in with that block, and Charizard is also going to dive on in to try and burn Talon on down. Headed on into this flux zone. We do have a clean break from Marv with that 5 points. So that is going to allow them that space to go and get that Reggie Alecki. But thing is, Talon, they're trying to slowly creep on up, but the block to push up that Zacian up against the wall.
They pushed up the Zacian. We still have Dylan really trying to dish out that damage on the Miraidon, and now Komai not looking too comfortable here, just trying to zone out, especially that Snorlax. But the Reggie Alecki, it does get secured. Beautiful play by Komai to keep Talon zoned away from the objective. And so that's going to start waltzing on down in that top lane. And in 5 seconds, we're going to be getting that bottom Reggie as well. Is it going to be an important one? A Reggie steal here would be amazing for any of these teams. But I do believe that's a Reggie Rock.
Well, I don't know that cry. Maybe potentially you're a jerk. I mean, you are the queen of the Pokemon cries after all,
okay? You're telling that to a deaf lady? Oh, jeez.
Oh, but there we go. Reggie steal despite Talon losing that Reggie Alecki. They did leave it up to that Zacian to go and shred it on down, and 4 members are down here. But Komai Esports looks like they're not going to contest it. We can see on the mini-map there that they're heading up towards that top path, but were unable to stop this 40 points going in from Lance.
I think it was a smart play for Komai not to really try and fight for that bottom Reggie, because it is in a pretty small choke point. And there's a lot of AoE on the side of Talon that can really catch them out. So I think it was a smart idea. Sure, you're giving away an attack buff to the enemy team, but I think it's probably better to just give a buff away rather than maybe 3, 4, 5 Pokemon worth of experience on top of that buff.
I guess that's where you really have to make these tough decisions on whether to contest these objectives or not. Thing is, both of these teams still have a tier 1 available on opposite ends. Komai are just going to focus on getting these wild Pokemon that is available on their side, but it is very sparse right now.
Very sparse, and especially with how Talon is moving, they're playing pretty deep because they want to try and catch that vision of where everyone is, because if a key Pokemon such as that Charizard is still in the central area, that is a sign for Talon to just go, go, go. And speaking of going, Kels, they do try to go for that Snorlax, but they don't get him.
How did Marv survive that? I am so surprised. I think that was an eject button and a heavy slam at the same time or something. Otherwise, it looks like no KOs for either side. Instead, we have Umbreon and Zacian going in for a reset. This Regieleki, if this gets taken by Komai, that's heading towards tier 2 and going to put Talon in a tricky position. Do you go and defend it? Do you go and get the prime positioning in the Rayquaza pit? Because that's spawning in about 15 seconds here.
Yeah, 15 seconds. That is more than enough time for somebody to sit there and potentially eliminate that Regieleki. But I think once they reveal that it's Zacian up there trying to defend the Regi, this is also going to help Komai decide if they want to try and fight, because they know the Zacian isn't there. And it's going to be a while until he does anything. But actually, they let the Regieleki through. And look at Zoro wanting to make a big wraparound and go for that big 100-point dunk. That's going to put Komai in an advantageous position. But is this maybe a trap? Maybe Talon want them to do this because we've seen teams do it before. The moment you see the dunk, a fight breaks out.
Oh, there we go. Umbreon goes in for the dive just as Toast ends up getting that 100 points. And now Talon are trying to shred down this Rayquaza. They are needing to back on up. Komai Esports are being smart here. They're not going into the tall grass where the electric balls were planted, but they're going to just disperse right now. And, well, Komai, they have the point advantage, so Talon need to try and make a play here.
Talon do need to make a play. Now, to be fair, they do have quite a bit of shred. They've got 2 long-range attackers that can go through that Rayquaza. It's just a matter of, are they going to be able to get that secure? Looks like Snorlax are catching out too! Oh, but they use the eject button to go on back, but is this going to be the end of Talon? They've lost the Miraidon. One of their attackers is gone.
Thunder. Can you hear the thunder? Well, no, you cannot, because Miraidon is out of the field right now. RBX also ends up getting taken down. Only 3 members of Talon are remaining. And Komai, they don't need to take this Rayquaza. They just need to defend. But the isolation's coming out from Marv with a heavy slam and block to just go and feed the opponents to their members. These plays are insane from Marv.
Oh my gosh, I think Sync won. He's been caught out in the enemy bush and he gets knocked out as well. He's gone for 25 seconds, so basically he is out of the game. It's going to be down to KYY. Dylan is back on that Miraidon, but the block from that Snorlax, they know this is the Pokemon that can go for the steal. Zoro going to be eliminated by the Umbreon. Mewtwo-Y will lock in on that Miraidon. We have almost 100 points by the Umbreon, but I don't think you can score that in time. I think Komai might have just taken game number 1.
Wow, I mean, we were talking about the complications when it comes down to this set, the 2 1s, the 2 0s, and how that is going to end up faring out. But Komai Esports, despite having 2 rookies over on their side, they are definitely demonstrating their prowess.
I think I'm in the car.
No, you're on the roof, the sunroof, okay. You're just letting the breeze run through your hair. But you know who's not getting their breeze run through their hair? The Rapidash, because it is on that ban table once again.
Well, we have a respect ban on the side of Talon, so they actually feel like the Charizard played a major role on Komai's lineup. So that's going to be removed, and Ho-Oh is going to be the next ban. So that means Latios is going to be available. And is this something Komai is looking at, or is this going to be something Talon is looking at? And Komai insta-grabs the Latios. And I don't think this is not a surprise. It was available, and a lot of teams, they still value this Pokemon. But a Talon prepared with a solution for this Latios, because they play it themselves, right? We saw Dylan play that Latios that saved the game for Talon up against Cakewalk. So in their opinion, and we're going to learn very quickly, what is their answer to a Latios?
Crustle?
You know what? I would not.
Okay, first pick Crustle.
I do not disagree.
Yeah.
No, seriously?
Do you think that's a good answer to Latios?
I don't know about good answer to Latios, but I love this Pokemon in general as a defender. It is so useful in a lot of compositions. I want to know the build. Is it going to be the usual X-Scissor Rock Tomb, or are we going to be seeing some funky stuff?
Ooh, I don't know if we'll end up seeing any funky stuff.
No Stealth Rock?
Look, Rock Tomb Stealth Rock can actually be really effective, but no. Okay, Sync One, they're just keeping us on their toes, all right? You know, we're talking about what to expect and everything, but even then, Okay, no, there we go. But
Okay, I don't like this team because they keep playing with my feelings.
And playing with our feelings, playing with our hearts. But no, it looks like Mewtwo, Clefable, two Pokemon that we have already seen today. But because of these picks, it means they are giving up the Zoroark once again. So whether Toast is able to get online as we saw last time and make that impact, but Potato on the Garchomp, I know this is one of their most favorite Pokemon to play. So I'm really excited to see Garchomp hit the field.
I have to say, interesting choice to go back to the Alolan Raichu here on the side of Talon. So obviously Dylan, he's going to be taking that Mewtwo, which means Sync 1 is back on the Alolan Raichu central lane again. I mean, Komai's already played against this. They kind of know how to deal with it, but
don't go on the tall grass.
Don't go on the
if you're
tall
squishy.
I think if on Talon, you kind of have to play this differently though, because their composition this game is vastly different compared to the last game.
Okay, but if there is one thing to stop down this Zoroark, Clefable, gravity. That is the strategy, right? Lay down the gravities at that right time, allow them to interrupt the combinations that Toast will bring. But that's the thing, the experience that they have going up into a Clefable, we'll have to see. They're obviously experienced in terms of dealing with the Alolan Raichu, not going into the tall grass, but timing is definitely going to be key here for Kai.
It is going to be key, but I think another thing is, do they want to pick gravity for this Clefable? Because if you pick gravity, you're giving up follow me.
But I feel like gravity into Zoroark, into Heavy Slam Snorlax, I feel like it would have to be a gravity pick here. Even then, to go and interrupt Zante on the Latios if they end up going with this Dragon Pulse moveset. We'll have to wait and see. Even a Dragon Rush Garchomp. But you know what? Heading on into game number 2, Komai Esports are 1-up against Talon. Are they able to do a 2-0 sweep, or a Talon able to bring this to a round 3? We'll have to wait and see, because we are going to have a quick pause.
Uh-oh. Okay. Unfortunately, I do believe we have run into another issue here, folks. So I am super sorry about this. Please bear with us as we do sort of try and deal with this tech issue, because we don't want to pause these games either. But if a pause happens, it is very necessary. So please stay with us. We will be jumping into the game as soon as it's ready, but yeah, we do apologize for some of the tech issues that have been happening here on the main stage. Sometimes it just happens and you kind of got to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's something that we deal with, but while we do have this downtime, I guess we can talk about these teams and flesh them out a little bit more. So one of the things I love to do is talk about the history of these players, these teams. So as I mentioned, while we have the two rookies being Narami and Toast on the side of Komai Esports, they actually have a veteran player on their side. So Zante, they actually haven't been on the world stage since 2022.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is their comeback, I guess, onto that stage, which is actually pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, and I wonder if there's just maybe this feeling of nostalgia coming back, because it's like, oh, I'm back at the main stage, you know. I'm here for the World
Championships. It's obviously a different look from what it looked like in a different venue. I mean, I've got to say, the stage looks incredible though, doesn't it?
The stage looks great. The venue itself is just packed with not just Unite, we've got plenty of other games here as well. At the Pokemon World Championships, we have VGC, we have Pokemon Go and TCG happening simultaneously as well. So all these games are happening whilst we're doing Unite, but it looks like we are back in the game, Kel.
Back to the action for Pokemon Unite as we have Potato chipped away. Is forced to use that eject button to get away from Lance on that Zacian.
So lane-wise, it looks like the priority for both teams is that bottom lane. So up top, it's a bit of a stalemate as both teams are going to more or less tie up there. But down bottom, though, we are starting to see some movement. The Zoro and the Alolan Raichu are down there to provide assistance to try and give their teammates as much of an advantage as possible. And this is one of the most annoying things about the Alolan Raichu. You just plant those Electro Balls there.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my goodness, the steal! Was that worth it?
Zoroark just exploded. What even happened? Was that the Electro Balls? They just dive in at the wrong time? Oh my gosh.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, originally there was one Electro Ball, and then as he dove in, another one flew in. So it was just Horrible timing.
Yeah, we're saying
Basically.
timing is key, okay? You got to make these decisions there, but you know what? Because of that mishap, we do have Talon who have the points advantage so far in this early game, 8 points to 40, as we do have both of these members just tussling it out for whatever wild Pokemon is available so far. Taking up base because these birds are about to spawn here in that central area.
The RBX is ready with that Crustle, and oh my goodness, RBX didn't even get to move. Oh, the timing from that Dragon Claw coming out from the Gap Bite. Perfect. Chef's kiss. Absolutely denied Talon there.
So, did you say chef's kiss with Snorlax?
Oh, wait,
wearing
what?
the chef's.
We just saw the
Holware.
Gap Bite get knocked out by the Zacian. Okay, we missed that.
Oh, but there we go. Oh, Sync 1 not giving up, making sure to secure themselves another KO onto that Suicune. Heading up onto that top path, but Snorlax is there, ready to defend those pads. So Sync 1 unable to empty out those 29 points, but once again, this is a strat that Alolan Raichu brings. Setting up these Electro Balls, that way they can just burst these Swablu's and Altaria in an instant.
It's just such an annoying matchup to go into, especially if you're a physical attacker, which is what the Zora is. And not even just the Zora, it's also the Garchomp. You really have to worry about those Electro Balls because they just do so much damage. So, I mean, Komai, they've played against this Alolan Raichu before, but again, we're just seeing them struggle in that early game. They do want to try and jump onto RBX, but guys, Crustle is one of the tankiest Pokemon in the game. This is not something you're going to be able to eliminate in a matter of seconds. So he just walks out for free. And the thing here for Komai, their lineup does not have a traditional healer. They're going up against a Clefable, so every fight that they can't fully commit to, they have to go back and heal, which is wasted time.
Yeah, they either have to go back to home base, go back to their tier 1 pad there. However, Regieleki ends up crashing on through. Lance does end up getting punished, allowing Komai to go and empty out their Eos energy. Do they have enough points to break this goal? We'll have to wait and see, but that is going to bridge the gap ever so slightly. Komai Esports, they are still behind though.
Only slightly. With how early it is in the game so far, they can very well make this comeback happen. It's just, can they find that opening to sneak in a couple of extra dunks? And that's really what the Garchomp really wants to do. Just sit in a lane and force someone to just sit and guard their goal zone. Now we are having a bit of a skirmish here in that central area for Komai, but thankfully the block is enough to basically force Talon back and to reconsider this next fight. But looks like right now Zacian having a really nice tussle there with the Garchomp, but actually a little bit too late. Did not commit for the Unite there. And they get a huge pick off the bait play from Komai.
Yeah, Narami
Beautiful.
coming in just in time to get that freeze and allow Potato to finish the job against that Zacian. We can see that Talon trying to look for a pick here, but Marv playing more forward there, looking for the perfect opportunity to get in a heavy slam. Who's it going to be? It's onto that Crustle, but they end up missing the block.
Yeah, they do have the Rock Tomb. So look at how Komai is playing. After seeing the Rock Tomb on RBX, they are playing so far back because they are so afraid of being caught. Now the Garchomp, they did try to go for the catch. They do use the Unite there from the Mewtwo. And it did lock down that Garchomp. He gets eliminated on that goal zone. We have a pretty big dive here happening by the Mewtwo, who did just overstep their bounds, and they will trade that 1-for-1. But a tier 1 goal zone does go down in favor of Talon. So slight victory there for Talon, but if they can get that Regieleki, then this victory becomes ever so bigger.
Well, yeah, that's going to be a massive distraction for Komai that is going to be heading towards that tier 2 pad. But if there is one thing for certain, Zacian can shred up objectives, but a Garchomp can also shred those up pretty quickly as well. We do have that basement Reggie still waiting to be taken, but Komai, they're preoccupied right now, trying to deal with Regieleki and whoever else is coming their way.
And you can even tell Komai, they aren't even bothering with the bottom objective yet because they want the Garchomp there. So if the bottom objective gets taken, I don't think they really mind. But in the middle, though, I do believe there's a skirmish. They caught Mewtwo again. So that's going to be another knockout. And that slows down the progress of the Mewtwo. Regirock does get taken, though. So defensive buff on the side of Talon and a little bit of experience. Oh, but the Clefable has been caught and the block is there. Beautiful eject over that Snorlax, though, to keep the Clefable up and running. And now all of a sudden, Komai, they're going to back up. They're a little bit afraid of the cavalry coming in.
Well, is the cavalry going to commit to this next fight as we have Marv trying to back away? being able to get a 4-person stun with this power nap and letting Komai dive on in, but Mewtwo ends up popping their Unite move, unable to save their allies despite that stun.
Oh, I think there might have been a trap play. We do have the long-range attackers on the side of Talon, though, but they have to back up because you don't have your frontliners. That was such a beautifully executed trap play by Komai because Snorlax was able to survive just until we popped off the Unite. 3 Pokemon caught in a bottleneck like that. That's the dream setup for a composition like Komai. They come in with that guard chomp, come in with the cleanup. They get some massive experience in their pocket as well. That brings the game back into a much more even level. And all of a sudden, the lead that Talon had been trying so hard to build all game, it's equalizing.
Well, the thing is, there's 45 seconds left to go until Rayquaza does spawn. We have 3 level 13s on the side of Komai. So have both of those plus movements, but Crustle ends up getting taken down mid-air, and Komai going to take the chance to look at breaking this bottom tier 1 pad, ignoring Reggie Alecki completely. But Dana Lee, because of those goals, we only have a 1-point difference.
And it's 1 point in favor of Komai. This is what Komai wants so bad. So now they are the ones that need to defend their goal zone so that they can potentially win the game. They don't want Talon to take that Rayquaza if possible. And unfortunately for Talon, they don't really have the best Pokemon in their lineup to try and go for a cheeky back cap. Because they're holding too many points on a lot of their Pokemon. Maybe Clefable with 7. We'll have to see their RBX has been caught with the blockers, trying to walk on out of there down to half health. His teammate is there. They do come in with the heals, though. No full commitment. Gravity even being used just in case someone wanted to go for the dive. So they're about to go for this reset, this Clefable healing. It's going to come in handy. But here's the thing for Komai. They need a perfect entry into this fight because if they miss this mark, they're going to be out-healed.
Well, we do have Marv going in with that entry and that power nap. RBX is still left standing, but they end up getting eliminated by that freeze from that Suicune. And now Talon are really on the back foot. It is a close game. They do not know that they are 1 point behind currently.
They don't know, and look, if Talon think they are ahead, they are sorely mistaken, and they're going to have to try and fight against a Garchomp up against this Rayquaza too. This is one of the issues. Garchomp can rip through that objective, and if they really wanted to on the side of Komai, maybe they go for a surprise play, rip the Ray themselves, and just steal it away from Talon. Talon are slowly pushing through. They're also chipping away at Komai's health bars. This is huge because they don't have healing. Komai, they have to make a decision. If they keep backing up, they're going to be out-sustained. They have to pick a point here to go in and go for the sweep, and the Garchomp goes in, Kels.
They're going in. Rayquaza is quite low. Who's going to get the secure? And it's a big Talon to get the Rayquaza shields and knocking out 3 members of Komai. This is going to be their moment, their chance to shine, get in their dunks, and take this to a game 3. But there's still 30 seconds left on the clock. But even then, it's only Latios left standing as more Hundo dunks are going to rain on through.
And Talon, they have kept their dream alive here at the Pokemon Unite World Championships because they needed this win. Because if Komai 2-0'd them at this point of time, they were going to be saying goodbye in their group. They were not going to make it to day number 2. So this 1-1 has kept Talon's dream alive in this group.
We were talking about hurdles to overcome, and I've got to say, those rock tombs, those hurdles that really stopped Komai in their tracks, stumbling and falling. And Mitch, this time around with the 7 knockouts, those Electro Balls, I feel like actually worked really well and were well placed by Sync 1 this time around as well. And well, Komai ended up falling for the trap a few times during that last match.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't respect the Alolan Raichu enough yet because it's not banned, unfortunately, which is good for us because we might be able to see some more Alolan Raichu. But, I mean, to be fair, I do agree with Komai. Like, these are probably more significant bans, you know, the Rapidash, the Hoopa, so very much worth those bans. Talon, I mean, respect to the Charizard ban. I think I do agree with this. The Charizard pick was just too good for Komai in that first game. So, coming into game number 3 here for Komai. Their last draft did well. I would blame them if they wanted to try and run it again, but I kind of think maybe you need to do something a little bit different. Just kind of come in and surprise Talon to get this surprise victory.
Well, so far, it's exactly the same. No surprises just yet. Potato locking in this Garchomp once again. The Suicune over on their side. So while they may not be switching things up, we'll see if Talon decide to stir the pot here.
Well, Talon might stir it with another Alola Raichu, and that ends up being the case, but Snorlax gets stolen away. But Crustle is now being hovered by Komai, so a bit of a defender shuffle between these two teams, if they do decide to go for it.
Well, I guess with Marv playing an incredible Snorlax these past 2 games, is now forced, I guess, to pick up this Crustle. And we're talking about overcoming hurdles and the momentum and everything like that. Well, what happens if you become the hurdle yourself? And that is what the Rock Tomb brings with a Crustle. That is a wall that you need to try and jump over, where the RBX can do that with a Snorlax.
I think the question is it going to be an issue, right? Because there are certain Pokemon that can kind of go over the Crustle wall. And
and through it.
I feel like Talon have a lot of Pokemon that kind of don't care about a Crustle wall. So maybe Rock Tomb. I mean, they can still pick Rock Tomb on the Crustle, right? If you catch somebody, you catch somebody. But I wonder if they maybe go for a different build.
Do you think they're going to go Shell Smash?
Why not?
Shell Smash? Okay, well, looking at the builds, they have the Experience Share, the Focus Band, along with this Assault Vest, knowing that there is those special attackers over on their side, being Alolan Raichu and Mewtwo-Y as well. So just giving them that extra bulk, the extra shield to try and defend against the damage that they will be bringing this round.
You know, I like the fact that Komai more or less ran it back with only a minor change in their lineup. I really liked how they played last game, so I'm just keen to see how this lineup kind of adapts to the Crustle pick. Maybe, for all we know, maybe Crustle fits better with this lineup.
I guess
it could.
It could. I mean, if you think about it, the combinations, you set up a Rock Tomb, and then you have a Garchomp coming in and rushing up against them, and there's no escape.
You've got 2 Pokemon that can follow through.
Yeah.
If you Rock Tomb X Scissor, that's already a long enough disable. That's follow through for your Garchomp. So it's not a new strategy. This is pretty old. It used to be very common. I want to say last year in APAC, a lot of teams love to run this because I don't know why, we love Crustle, but then again, it is very fun to watch.
It is very fun, and also the Dweeble is very cute. But there we go, folks. We are heading on into this final game between Komai Esports and Talon. They are 1 apiece so far. We're going to have to see. Well, the pride is on the line here for Komai. Are they able to take down Talon?
Well, I do like what Talon is doing here with RBX. He is being a bit of a nuisance here, stealing away a blue buff for himself. So, unfortunately for Komai, their Zoro is going to be set back a little bit, and we'll have to try and get this last bit of experience in that bottom lane. Now, the thing is, you're going up against a Alola Raichu, who has already fully evolved. They're going to be fighting into that Snorlax, who does go for a little bit of a nap, try to heal up, but just not enough healing, unfortunately. The Zoro kicking into gear at the right moment and securing that knockout.
Yeah, well, I guess when you're in that driver's seats, you've got to change that gears at the right time, because you do not want to stall the car and kangaroo. Otherwise, those birds are going to spawn on up, and this is the brilliance that Gabite or Garchomp ends up bringing, being able to push those birds all the way back to Komai's side, while giving Talon a taste of that experience.
And Talon just fully abandoned that lane, especially seeing 4 Pokemon in that top lane. So instead, they decide they're going to go for a central area invade instead. Beautiful eject by that Suicune to go over that wall. The chase does not continue, and Talon are going to have to back up themselves and rethink, okay, what is the plan here? Central area or back to lane? And it looks like it's just going to be experience again, just so that they can hit their power spikes, and then they can figure out what they want to do for that mid game. But at the moment, it's still relatively even across the board. We're not seeing any major advancements in either of these teams. It's still very, very even. It's really going to come down to whether or not we see a major team fight win in a moment. And Zoro, they do get the knockout. And unfortunately for Talon, they don't get the counter knockout them. So actually, they do. They finally get it on that Zoro. And they will get another one in that Suicune. So all of a sudden, pretty big swing in favor of Talon.
Yeah, 2 KO streak for that Alolan Raichu. And now they are going to be at that level 8, closer to their Unite move to come. Otherwise, we do have an engage coming in from that Snorlax, going in for a nap to just go and soak up all the damage that Komai are trying to bring to the table.
Oh man, this is the second time that we've seen Talon try and go for a bit of a skirmish, but then the Zoro is just in the right place at the right time and coming in with the punish and really preventing Talon from dishing out any more damage. Zoro's still there though, they've got to be a little bit careful. Beautiful block by the team just to make sure that the stun does not connect onto that Zoro. We have 3 in this bottom lane here for Talon, and if Komai want to try and advance onto this, it is a very, very dangerous lane to fight into because they do have a tank, they have a healer, and they also have a damage dealer. But I think once they realize up top, you have main core Pokemon up here getting that Regieleki. This is a sign for Komai to just go.
It is a sigh of relief for Komai being able to secure that Reg Ice. While it isn't the most favorable buff, only giving that HP regen over time, it is still going to give that global experience team-wide. But Talon, they're not going to give on up. Despite losing that basement objective, they're going to dive on in. But Toast, their Unite move, wasn't impactful. They didn't end up landing the hit on anyone from Talon there.
Oh, a bit unfortunate. Looks like Snorlax using the block again, pushing back the cross door. Eject buttons having to be used there so they don't get caught out. Oh, beautiful double stun, catching both the defender and the support. Snorlax is down, but the Alola Raichu using that Unite as well, but just not enough damage to finish through. But Suicune, the stun, the ice is there, and they even finish him off with the Latios. Oh boy, Talon getting punished here with this very aggressive play.
They are getting punished here, but Snorlax is back here to save the day with a huge heavy slam and block to push Komai into that flux zone. That way they get slowed. But Mewtwo is trying to deal out the damage as Latios is able to pick up 3 KO streak. They end up getting a quadra. Only the Mewtwo Y left remaining, able to go back to that berry and regen this HP. But some dunks end up going in, and Komai, well, they're left to retreat here because the defenses have arrived.
The defense finally arrived. They only lost the Zoro. I think it could have been much worse, but they did manage to escape in just the right moment at the cost of one of their teammates. But look, things are still looking up here for Komai. They do have a huge level lead over Talon. Talon are still sitting on some rather low-level Pokemon here. And unfortunately, the supports are not looking too healthy on their side. So hopefully they can get some experience over there. Suicune being advanced on by 3 Pokemon. Beautiful 3-man free. Zacian super low, and you can see this right now. The Zoroark, you see a low-health Pokemon, you know it's your call.
Yeah, well, they ended up attempting the dive onto that Zacian, but they quickly retreated and not looking to give Talon that KO. But another basement objective has spawned as we have Potato getting to work, shredding up this Reggie Rock. Rubble Rouse is going to come on out from Marv to try and interrupt this Zacian, and Komai Esports are able to secure themselves another basement Reggie. Talon are quite low, needing to hang about with this Moonlight and Pat to go in and look for some KOs of their own. But who members against one? Now they're just going to have to see if they can get another one on Narami. He's quite low.
They're still going though. That Zoro almost got a 4-man wipe. Just lost a little bit of gas in the middle of that attack animation. It should have gone in favor of Komai. There's not enough health. They got a beautiful snipe there to finish things off. I have to say that went a lot better for Komai than I originally anticipated. I thought Talon was going to come in and roll over them, but no, they fought the right targets. They picked their exit strategy perfectly, and they didn't line themselves up to just be wiped out by Talon one by one. I do want to point out here the Suicune is causing a lot of issues for Talon. I think multiple times we have seen multiple Pokemon getting frozen by this Pokemon. And unfortunately for Talon, every time they get frozen, that's a fraction of a second for Komai to decide, do we want to engage onto this? It is our turn to maybe jump onto Talon, because Talon, Clefable's a great Pokemon, but when you're healing, you're grouping up.
Oh, they are grouping up indeed, but that defense is strong as RBX ends up getting denied that dunk, trying to moonwalk backwards, but the Rock Tomb and the Dragon Rush combo are going to shut down another member of Talon. 50 points looking to go on in, but even that is some great math coming out from Komai, now taking the lead at 207 to 153. 3 minutes left to this match, 1 minute until Rayquaza spawns.
Again, another case of the Suicune. The freezes coming out of Suicune is just causing absolute havoc for Talon. And they're really struggling to play around this Pokemon because it has so much range. Yes, you have ranged Pokemon yourself that's there to deal damage, but too many times are we seeing Talon having multiple players, and especially key Pokemon such as a Alolan Raichu being caught by the freeze. You can't afford to be frozen, especially with how squishy this Pokemon is. Reggie Steele getting locked in here by Komai. That's an attack buff. If they get caught here, that is it.
Yeah, well, Clefable ends up getting caught on out. They do end up respawning before Rayquaza comes on in. RBX playing it safe, using that heavy slam to get out of the way. Do not want to get caught on out. Otherwise, it is still a really close match heading into this final stretch. 207 to 173 in favor of Komai. But they are really looking in sync right now. It's just whether they can continue to overcome these final hurdles. Diving on in.
Oh, the dive coming in from the Garchomp, landing onto 2. The healer is down onto Talon, but do they have the firepower to turn things around? The Snorlax is low. Even the Alolan Raichu needs to back on out as well. But the Latios diving in deep, looking for that Alolan Raichu and gets it as well. So now it's 4 players going up against 5. We still have the Zacian nearby being jumped on by that Latios. They will be able to knock him out, but there's that.
That's a 35-second cooldown, but look at Rayquaza's low HP. Who's going to end up doing it? It ends up being Komai. Potato on the Garchomp to lock it on down. Only the Alolan Raichu that has spawned on in and are able to stop these goals. And look at that. Crustle also picking themselves up a 2 KO streak. But Danalee, there's still a minute left on the clock. But is this going to be the point of no return for Talon?
Unless they get 50 points on every single Pokemon and they get complete knockouts on Komai, I do not see this comeback happening. It's a very, very slim possibility, but you have to remember, you have to deal with all of these Rayquaza shields, and especially on a Pokemon like Garchomp.
At level 15, 3 level 15s on the side of Komai. How do you even deal with that?
Exactly. So the comeback potential is very low for Talon, but sometimes you just got to give it a try. You've got to give it a shot. And this is the plan. They found that Garchomp. They're trying to jump on top of him. They finally break the shield, but the team is there. Latios is there to deal the damage. They've got the Crustle as well. And 2 Pokemon already hit the ground for Talon.
Oh, they have hit the ground. Crash landing there, unable to progress on through, even though these little dunks are gonna come on in. It's just not enough to make that difference. And Komai Esports here making a statement, wiping out the complete team of Talon there, looking for some more dunks in this home base.
Oh boy, Komai, they win the series. I mean, if you're Komai, you gotta be feeling great. You beat Talon.